Hello, good morning, everybody. If you can hear me, can you just
Oh, yes, I can hear you. I was about to drop a message. Yeah, so okay, let me just go ahead and introduce you. So we have a guy, Samuel, on the call to give us a presentation. Samuel is a full-time student and also a full-time software engineer with a passion for technology and a desire to use it for societal good. Samuel also believes that technology is an enabler, and with a proper combination of tools, we can make the world more comfortable. He's also a software engineer with Microsoft, while also pursuing a degree in industrial mathematics and computer science. So, floor is yours, guy.
Yeah, Judy, thanks a lot for that introduction. I'll just go ahead and share my screen. I have a very short slide. So here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes, you can.
All right. So hi everyone. Nice to meet you all. Today I'll just be giving a quick talk on how to ace FAANG interviews. Hopefully you pick one or two things that will help you on your journey. Um, so to begin with, like Chidi already mentioned, my name is Egahi. About my name is I prepare Egahi, and I'm very passionate about community building. My tech journey actually began with community effort. So my guy introduced me to programming, Toby, Koleko, you hear from him later. And then I got to know GDG Unilag at the time before it was modified to PSC. And then I got to know GDG Lagos, attending meetups, meeting people, hearing their stories and all. I think after their first 1 year, I was privileged to follow Femi Taiwo home in his car. And then we got talking, and he really gave me some insights into the whole tech scene that got me fired up and going. So, in summary, my success today is just like the story of community effort. That's why I'm very passionate about giving back, helping in any way that I can. You can find me at Eka.so. All my handles are there. You can always shoot out a mail, DM, or whatsoever you're comfortable with. And we can pick up the conversation from there. So yeah, so diving straight into it, fan interviews have two major categories, two broad categories. We have the technical interviews, and then later in this talk, I'll talk about the behavioral interviews. For the technical interviews, there are two broad categories. You have data structures and algorithms, and then you have system design. Will I say fortunately or unfortunately, in my own journey to like big sorry, is it just George, or can any other person confirm my audio is low? If you can hear me clearly, can you indicate something? Oh, sorry. Let me fix that. Check. Hello. How about now? Hello.
Yes, it's
Is
better
it any
now.
better? Yeah. All right. Thank you. So, like I said, my story up to this point is just like community effort. That's why I'm so passionate about community building. So technical interviews into big tech are broadly divided in two. That is technical interviews and behavioral interviews. For the technical interviews, we have two subcategories: data structures and algorithms, then system design interview. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, my own journey into big tech, Microsoft did not include a system design interview. So in all my journeys of interviews with Facebook, Google, and the likes, I've never had a system design interview. So I can't really speak much about it. I will just focus on data structures and algorithms. Here's what you need to know. Aristotle said, for the things we have to learn before we can do them, we learn by doing them. In essence, like it's just hands-on learning. You do not necessarily have to sit back consuming tons and tons of theory. Or if you're learning a programming language, there's something called tutorial purgatory. You don't have to be stuck doing tutorial exercises, doing theory and all that. You just need to dive deep into it and just practice. The more you practice, the better you get. Here are a few things that you can practice. These are a few things I outlined that if you are hoping to get a job with like FAANG or big tech generally, you should practice frequently. The frequency of your practice may differ from person to person, but what you want to aim for is consistency. For me, I went with daily, so like practicing at least an hour every day. That's the frequency of that was how I approach mine. If you're not as maybe chance, you could do once in 2 days or at most 3 days, but you want to be consistent. You want to build a habit. You want it to become part of you. So, three things you can practice to make your data structures and algorithm game very strong and to develop mastery. Number one is to solve algorithmic problems. Don't wait until you know all the data structures in the world or all the algorithms in the world before you jump on solving algorithmic problems. There are many websites you can use, but my preference is LeetCode. That's the one I use, and it helped me a lot. It has a free track where you can just go look for problems and solve. So if you want to get started today, you can just go on LeetCode, try the first problem to some. It's a very common problem. Just try it. Whether you can solve it or not doesn't matter. Just try it. So what you are doing is that you are building context. You know what is obtainable. You know what you need to learn. So when you are going back to learn like data structures and algorithms, you know what to focus on, and you know what is just like details, like unnecessary details that you can skim over. So go on leetcode.com, practice questions here daily. It doesn't matter. When you start, it might take a whole day to solve a question or two. It might take an hour, depending on how comfortable you are with data structures and algorithms. Some problems might keep you on for a week. One thing that would happen if you practice consistently is that the time you use to solve a problem would reduce drastically. So you will get to a point where you are comfortable solving multiple problems in a day. Then you get to a point where you are comfortable solving multiple problems in an hour. So what you should aim for is to solve at least a medium problem in 30 minutes or less. So if you practice to the point where you can solve a medium problem on LeetCode in less than 30 minutes, then you are um that's the sweet spot. That's where you want to be. You can easily approach an interview and be sure to ace it. If you go further to be able to solve like two problems in less than 30 minutes, at that point, like you can almost clear any interview you go for, like almost for at least the traditional technical companies. Easy problems and then medium. We have some outliers though, some very, I don't know what to call them, but there are a few companies out there, very, very few, that may throw in a hard question once in a while, but you don't necessarily need to bother about that. If you can solve one or two problems, medium problems on LeetCode in 30 minutes or less, you are good to go. Like you are ready to land a job. So while you learn that on LeetCode, the beauty of LeetCode is that when you solve a problem, you see the solutions, you can study it, you see people's reasoning around it, you can see the comment section, and then you can learn. So when I started, I could solve no problem. So what I would do is that I would try the problem, get stuck, look at the solution, study it. If I need to read a topic, go read it, then come back and try it on my own. There at some point I became used to how the problems are solved. And I started like I developed the skill, was able to solve one or two problems on my own, and it just got better from there. So that's the advice I would give you. Aim to practice late code problems consistently until you can solve medium problems in less than 30 minutes. Secondly, algorithms and data structures. So you will need to learn some concepts because there will definitely be things that you get exposed to. You would know, I've never heard of this thing in my life, or I never you will see some solutions that you do not even understand. So that's the time to go back to study algorithm and data structures. There are courses online you can use, there are textbooks you can use. The one I would recommend is Cracking the Coding Interview. It's a textbook. You can just Google it, download it, and then go through the chapters. You will learn like algorithmic concepts, different data structures, and how to approach interview questions. Then the third point, this one applies more when like you are approaching an interview, like you have been scheduled for an interview. It helps to hold mock technical interviews with like friends or maybe people that are already in big tech or are familiar with the process. So you can set up a call with your friend and then they'll just like ask you one or two questions and then you go through it. So that's something you can do just to practice every day. Next, we come to the behavioral interviews. When we talk about behavioral interviews, you can just think of like soft skills. Basically, what's happening here is that they want to know, just like for you to present yourself, the other aspect of yourself beside the technical aspects. So things about you in general, how you approach work, if you're a team player, how you approach difficult situations, conflict in the workplace, and all those things. So, when it comes to behavioral interviews, this is what they want to know. Here's something I want us to take note of. When it comes to like behavioral interviews, you need to get comfortable talking about yourself because no other person will do it for you. If there's one thing I know, like um, probably growing up, one of the hardest questions to answer is tell me about yourself. I I think I can recall in secondary school a time where they were like a teacher did an experiment in the class. He put a gift prize for anybody that can talk about themselves for 30 minutes, and nobody could. So you need to like get comfortable talking about yourself, but not just rambling about, not just going in a haphazard order. There is a model called the STAR model that I want to introduce. The STAR model, it's just breaking down your story. So when you talk about yourself, you want it to be in a story mode. And the way to go about that is to structure it in the STAR model. Sorry, Chisom, could you mute your mic? All right, thank you. So if you have a story, I ask the question, tell me about the most difficult problem you've ever worked on. Instead of just jumping into it and then start rambling, you can just like take a minute or take a few seconds to structure it into this model. So number one, outline the situation. I just joined a startup and my CEO gave me work to do. I finished the work and he was waiting for a review. That could be a situation. Or no, I just joined a startup. I had work to do. I was working directly with the CTO. Task, what were you tasked with doing? Okay, I was meant to implement some backend APIs and deliver so the front end guys could consume it. Action, what did you do? I implemented the code and pushed it for review. Um, So I implemented the code, pushed it for review, but it kept on waiting. Like it was just waiting for review non-stop. The CTO was too busy; he could not come back to it, and the front end guys were waiting and waiting and waiting. Um, so the results, what came out of that encounter, this is like a way to structure, like maybe a story you want to tell. Sorry, let me go over this again. I just paint it in a different way. So the situation, I was given a task to implement. I did and pushed it to the CTO, but he was waiting for review non-stop. He did not have time to come back to it, and the front end guys were waiting for it. What was my task in this particular case? Since the problem I'm answering is what is the most difficult thing, difficult situation, or let's say when was the time you had a conflict? Yeah, I think that would be better suited for this example I'm giving. A time you had a conflict in the workplace that you had to resolve. So I had a task to do, I did and pushed it. It was waiting for review, and the front end guys were waiting for it. What did I do, or what was my task? My task was to clear the blocker and make the APIs available for the front end guys. Action, what did I do? I reached out to the CTO and politely spoke to him about the review, asked him if in his spare time he could just review it so that the front end guys could keep on working. What was the result? The APIs were reviewed, they were deployed, and the front end team was happy. Then the L there is not particularly part of the STAR model. I had a mentor that just included it. You could go one step further to talk about the lessons you learned from that situation. So you can just search online for different kind of questions that will be asked at interviews. And what you want to do is that you want to have a ready-made story that you can fall back to at any time. Common ones are what's the most difficult thing you've worked on? When's the time when you had a conflict in the workplace and how did you resolve it? When did you have to work with a team and how did you go about it? So those are just the kind of questions. You want to just break down the situation. What exactly was happening? What were you meant to do? What did you do? What was the result? And then if you like, you can go on ahead and talk about the lessons that you learned. So this is like a very good approach to answer any question about yourself. Like any question about yourself. So you just have to like have that mental model so you're not rambling, going back and forth and confusing the people talking to you. Yeah, so finally, I just want to give like an advice to everybody. I just have this very simple graph. So now I've outlined two things: being technically sound for the technical part of the interview, and then the behavioral part where you have to talk. In order to ace the technical part of the interview, you need to practice and aim for mastery, or at least being able to solve medium lead code questions in 30 minutes or less. And then in order to ace the behavioral part of the interview, you need to get comfortable talking about yourself. So if you use that model, you could be like something I call a good orator. You don't necessarily need to be like an English pro or something, but just comfortable enough to talk about yourself. If you combine the two, you see this circle I put here in the right top. You'll be a competent engineer. You have the skill and you are able to talk about what you do, how you do it, and the impact you are making. That is where you want to fall in. If you are so sound, you are a good orator, but then you've not put in the work to like practice your algos and data structures, you will just like be a noisy engineer, all talk and no game. You'll be able to talk about all the different databases that exist, all the different data structures that exist. You'll be able to talk about programming concepts, blah, blah, blah. But once the rubber hits the road and it's time to solve problems, you will struggle. And it is very obvious. There was a time where I could solve lead code questions in 1 hour. That was not good enough because what would happen is that I would go for an interview, the time will be exhausted. Interviews, by the way, last like 45 minutes or so, and you have like 15 minutes to talk about the behavioral aspect and then 30 minutes to solve questions. So what was happening to me at the time was that I would start solving the problem, but I would only complete it like after the interview, and that does not count. So I was not like where I needed to be. I needed to double down, bring the time for solving those problems below 30 minutes to be able to ace an interview. So if you're all talk and no game, you just be noisy. It's easy to spot out because the moment they say, "Oh yeah, let's write code," it will be obvious that this person has nothing to offer. Then in the left top corner, I have what I call an invisible engineer. You could be sound technically, but do not know how to like speak about what you do or about yourself. You could have everything theoretically on paper. Your CV could be excellent, but once it comes to talking about yourself, you begin to stutter or you are just like mute or something like that. What will happen is that you will see people with maybe less technical skills than you that are being recognized, that are getting offers, that are being elevated into positions that you know you can easily fit. But because you do not know how to talk about yourself, about the work you do, you just exist in that limbo where you are being passed, looked over like time and time again, be it at the interview or when you get into a company and you're looking for like promotion and all that. You don't want to exist in these states where you are technically sound, but a very bad orator because you just become invisible. And then the worst of all is being a bad orator and having no technical skills. Um, if you are, I don't know, pushing yourself or branding yourself as an engineer without any of these skills, you might want to take a step back and just accept that probably you're a beginner and you have some work to do. If you put in the work, you can move from any quadrant here to the top right, which is where you want to be. So if you have the technical skills, but you do not know how to talk about yourself, you want to practice that. You want to practice, have meditated stories that you tell at interviews. Practice talking about yourself, either to a friend in mock interviews or even to the mirror. If you are maybe in the right bottom quadrants, you know how to talk, but the technical skills are not there. Take a break. Take a break from social media and all those things, posting about everything, posting programming jokes, programming humor, so that people would think you are a tech bro or something. Like just take a break, sit down and put in the work. Go on Lead Code, get a texture, an online course, and put in the work so that you can build your technical skills. You see someone like Prosper, Unicode developer, when he talks, people listen. When it's time to put in the work, it is obvious that he's also technically sound. That is where you want to be. That is where you want to dwell. So that's my advice to everybody on the call today. Thank you all very much for listening. If you have any questions, you can, I don't know, maybe drop it in the chat or something, and I'll be happy to answer. Hi, Chidi, are you still on the call?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, guy. That was like very wonderful presentation. So if you have questions, I think the guy can still take like a few questions, maybe one or two. You can quickly like drop them on the group chat. Sorry, on the comment section. Okay. So I'd have one question. I just want to know like if the slides, if we could like get the slides from you and we could like have them go over the slides later, like free time and things like that.
Yeah, sure. I'll send it to you.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, so someone has a question that says recommend resources I can use to learn algorithms. Like,
Yeah, so for that, depending on your preference, if you prefer a proper course, there's this popular course on Coursera, Algorithmic Toolbox, which you can check out to get you started. If you prefer a textbook, there are many. The one I can recommend is Cracking the Coding Interview. That would like you can just go through it chapter after chapter. Uh, yeah. So off the top of my head right now, those are like the two resources I can recommend for you. Sorry, did I answer your question?
yeah. And someone else is talking about your LinkedIn profile. If you can drop that into chat. So I hope
All right, let me see.
all right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guy. It was very nice having you here. And really appreciate you taking out your time to join us for a session. And I'm very sure that we all learned a whole lot from that discussion.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll quickly call up on uh I'll quickly move over to the next session, and I'll call up on Oluwaseyi Taiwo, who is a member of the DSC Unilag core team, to come and take over like the panel session for the next session.
Hello, everybody. Please let me know if you can hear me.
Sure, we can.
Okay, so moving forward to the panelist session, we're going to have the opportunity to speak to two other individuals, and they'll be guiding us through the process, just like we have learned from Samuel. Though it's a continuation on how to ace FAANG interviews. So we have Oluwatobiloba Ateniola and Eitayo Ogunbi. Are they on the call already?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yep.
Eitayo is a graduate of Computer Engineering, University of Lagos. He has worked as a software engineering at few companies, including Bitcoins. He currently works at Quora, where he works on content distribution, while Toby is a student of the Department of Mathematics, studying mathematics and computer science. He has received internship offers from multiple tech companies, including Bloomberg, Facebook, and Microsoft. Toby and Itayo, we're so pleased to have you here. Thank you for taking out your time to honor this request. Toby, can you say hi? Hello, Toby.
Hi guys.
Hi, thank
Yeah,
you very much
thanks for the
for
introduction. Happy to be here.
yeah. Itayo, can you say hi?
Yeah, hello everyone. Thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let's start with Itayo. Can you briefly tell us the kind of work you do at your companies and describe your experience working with them?
Oh yeah,
You work
so
at Quora right now. So what do you do at Quora? I already said you work on content distribution, but what is it like? What do you do?
yeah, okay. So on a day-to-day basis, like my role is to try to get as much people that are using the product to see good content, right? They need to see the best content for them. So does anyone here use Quora?
Of course I do. I use Quora.
Oh yeah, cool. So you you receive an email every day, I presume, called Quora Digest.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's primarily what I work on. So my job is to make sure you receive it at the best possible times and it contains the best stories for you, or shuffling it around and making sure every user, we actually have about 300 million users. So the problem becomes pretty interesting when you're trying to optimize when to send emails, what to include in the emails for that size of users. So on a day-to-day basis, my job involves writing code that makes Quora Digest work better, send emails at better times, and also like running A/B tests, trying to find the best times to do certain things, and just trying to improve the user's experience and the overall experience of using the product, using the app.
Okay, so how has it been so far, your experience? How long have you been working at Quora, and what can you tell us about your experience?
Oh yeah, so I've been working for almost 3 months now. Um, my overall experience has been pretty positive. It has been good so far. Like the work is pretty interesting. I'm learning a lot of new things, a lot of smart people and experienced people from different places that are always happy to help, and they're always happy to give you assistance and guide you. So there's a lot of room to learn new things and a lot of interesting problems that are being solved there.
All right, thank you very much. Before I move on to Toby, guys, please, if you have any question, please kindly drop it in the chat box so that I can take notes. Toby, please tell us about what you do. Where do you work at the moment? How has it been like? When did you start working there? What do you do daily?
Hi guys. So can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I presume others
Yeah.
can too.
So at Microsoft, I work on a prototype project, so I can't really talk about what the project is because of NDAs. Um, or mostly I work with C++ and WinRT, which is Microsoft's C++ framework for creating unified Windows applications. At Bloomberg, I work with the security infrastructure team. So my job was to write a low-level Python library for managing secrets across Bloomberg machines. Primarily day-to-day involves coding, attending meetings, reviewing changes to the repo, putting my changes to the repo. Um, I guess that is all.
Okay. So how long have you been working there
I've
so far?
been
What
with
has it been like? What has it been like
yeah,
so far?
yeah, I've been with Microsoft for about 3 months. It's been quite interesting because before I joined, C++ was not my primary language. Um, I mostly use Python because I used to do deep learning before I transitioned into um, backend and infrastructure engineering. So it was an interesting experience, learning C++ at the same time, working on a matured code base. So the mix of learning and also making contributions, the repo.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. So, the next question. So, before you guys got the job, I'm sure there must have been learning and interview preparation phase. So, can you please tell us the kind of things you did that helped you prepare adequately? I mean, just give us an insight, the amount of work you had to put in that is required to get in or to like get very good where companies can notice you. I mean, just tell us about how you learned, your resources, and how you prepared for the interview. So we'll start with Tayo.
Yeah, okay. So talking about preparation, resources, and related things, um, I would say I actually spent lots of time on Elite Code, like a guy he said. Um, I read a lot of books. A particular book I read was Cracking Coding Interview, but I feel that that book is a bit too simple. It doesn't go in depth enough. So I found another book called Elements of Programming Interviews. So I think that book is way more in depth and like prepares you to be more just makes you stronger for like almost any kind of interview. And that's on preparation side of things. Aside books, I did a lot of mock interviews with my friends. I did mock interviews with a lot of people that were more experienced than me. So I also had some friends in the industry, friends working at Google, Facebook, and the likes that also is like helped me do mock interviews and try to make me better prepared to pass these interviews. Did I answer the
Okay.
question completely?
Yes. I mean, Toby, what do you have to say? Do you have something to add?
Yeah, so my own particular case, I actually did read Cracking the Coding Interview, but I found out I preferred a more hands-on approach, like mostly using Lead Code and also practicing with friends. Also, one thing I did, there was this Facebook um, there was this Facebook like mentorship program which I found helpful also. Basically paired some students with some engineers there and also a non-technical person there for like technical and non-behavioral interview practice. So I guess like from my own perspective, I think a more hands-on approach should be better. Like books are also very good, like if you need to have a solid foundation, which would be quite important, but like putting a lot of work solving problems and also practicing, because it's one thing to be able to solve lead code problems and that thing to be able to deal with the whole anxiety, the time constraints and everything that comes in an actual interview. Yeah, so I guess you could use that. You could use Prompt to practice. Prompt is a website that pairs you with random people to have like practice sessions. Also, it would be great to have a community. I, Tayo, and some other guys were in a community and we used to organize practice interviews all the time. So if you have like 5 or 10 friends that are also interested in getting opportunities, you could have a WhatsApp group chat and regularly on that organize practice sessions.
Mm, okay, thank you very much. I mean, so you know, both of you said something important, like putting in a number of work. Like how I'm trying to quantify it. How was it like 4 hours daily or 2 hours daily? I mean, I want to get into FAANG. What's like the amounts? How do I should I because I've been hearing lead code for a while now. So should I just go on lead code 1 hour daily or once in a week or twice in a month? What can you say? How do I can you help me with that?
Um, I think, so Tayo, do you want to?
Yeah, I'd like to answer this. So personally, like it's fine to start with 1 hour per day. It's fine to try to time yourself every day and say 1 hour. But I feel it will get to a point that you probably lose track of time. Like you don't really try to measure it. Like if you're watching movies, you don't measure it, right? You just watch the movie, just enjoy the movie. until probably you realize that you should probably be sleeping or something. You don't actually measure how much time you want to spend playing game or something. So I feel it actually needs to get to that point. Like you really need to start to enjoy it like that. It takes a lot of effort, right? I would say don't focus on the time. There's no fixed time. So people might be really, really good at this kind of problem, and they can probably get by with less practice. And so people might get by with more practice. So your mileage might vary, but I would say don't focus on the time. Just try to get work done. It's all right to start with 1 hour a day, but I believe you would eventually spend way more than that per day, like when you get really serious.
Okay, thank you. Toby, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, like for me, I feel like similar to what I said, the number of hours is not necessarily important. The core thing is consistency. You understand? Just reiterating what Edgar said also. So just be consistent. Like you just have to be doing it every day or almost every day. Make it an habit. It's even way better than say maybe practicing for like 6 hours for 3 days and then you just drop it for like a week. 1 or 2 hours or like whatever you're capable of daily. So far you have that consistency. I think is the best bet. Because there are a couple of times you might leave it for a while, you forget certain things and you have to relearn. But just having that consistency should go a long way.
Okay, thank you. So we before learning, I mean before the interview process, after the learning stage, we all want to get into this company. So I mean after the learning stage, I want to ask that what are the best tactics to get interviews from these companies? I mean, aside having a good CV, what are other things that you can do for to get these companies notice you? Because I mean, after learning, what is next? Your resume and your CV and the likes, then interview. So before they can notice you and before you apply, them to call you for the interview. And what are the best tactics to get noticed by these companies? Toby, please, that's yours.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's also important. Like practicing is one thing. It's also important to be able to um get into the gateway in the first instance. So I think one thing, having a solid resume is very important. Like work on interesting projects, look at open source contributions. You can have one or two local, by local I mean like work with like a Nigerian company as an internship as a full-time position. Also having a resume that is formatted properly is also something very important. So you could speak to friends to review your resume, or maybe you could use LinkedIn and like connect with network with professionals, basically send them your resume, ask for their feedback. Or you could use automated ATS systems like applicant tracking systems like um, resume worded to also optimize your resume. If you have an optimal resume, also like you can just like cold approach recruiters on LinkedIn. Just send recruiters your resume, give them a compelling argument why they should consider you for the role. Also try to network with people in the industry to see if you can get referrals. Referrals and so referrals and also like direct connection with recruiters are one of the best ways to guarantee yourself an interview compared to just applying online. So I think those are also very important. Having that skill of networking with people, messaging recruiters, asking for referrals. Outside that also, if you want to apply online, try to know when roles are open because you have like people all over the world also trying to get those roles. Recruiters get a lot of application. It becomes difficult to put a lot of time going through each application. So being among one of the first people that get the application into the system is also very good. You can make use of Glassdoor. You can also check LinkedIn. There are times there are certain settings you can put LinkedIn that when some roles open up, it shows. There's also this repo. I don't know it by heart, but if I remember, I'll post it. But it's a GitHub repo that I think some CS students in Pittsburgh also created. So when roles open, they put it online in less than 5 hours or 4 hours. So just leveraging the ability of applying early is also something I think would do you a good um will do you a lot of good in getting your name into the system. Also, like communities like this are also very good. Participating in communities like GDSC, yeah. A guy just posted it. You could check it out. Tayo just posted it rather. So
Yeah.
participating in communities also like GDSC, Continent, Facebook Developers Group, Microsoft and partners. Also, those are things that would also assist you and give you an headway when you're applying and trying to get positions. Um, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Tayo. Tayo, do you want to add to that?
Oh yeah, Toby pretty much covered everything. I'll just say like reaching out to recruiters on LinkedIn is probably like it's a good thing, like it works sometimes, but the return rate is very low. Like you can reach out to 100 or let's say 10 and you probably get like one, or if you reach out to 10 you get one. So just try to reach out to a couple and try not to spam them, because if you really think about it, you don't really have much to offer them. They're really the ones doing you a favor. So try not to spam them or like be overly disturbing them. Yeah.
Okay. So someone is asking, how did you guys overcome imposter syndrome? At what point do you think one can say they're actually ready to apply for these big jobs? I mean, these big jobs, he's referring to FAANG jobs. So at what point do you think you can say you're actually ready to apply for these jobs?
Um yeah, so I'll answer the second question first. I'll say you can apply right now, right? Because thing is that they are looking for new grads. Like for example, if you see a role by Facebook, for example, that's a software engineer university grad, they aren't really hiring you because you're an expert or anything. They're hiring you because of potential. So they basically believe that okay, this guy has gone to university, for example, and he has a degree in CS or something. So let's hire this guy based on potential. Or let's interview this guy based on potential. They don't really expect you to know a lot. So I'll say you can apply right now as you're a student or you're about to graduate or you recently graduated, that kind of thing. So those new grad roles, that's like the easiest way to get in. Because if you're not a new grad, then there's a different kind of expectation for you. But as a new grad or an intern, I would say you can apply right away. Application is free and it doesn't really take a lot of time to apply. So I feel is a low investment, high reward thing. So just apply right now. It's free to apply.
Okay. Okay. Vincent, I hope he answered your question. Thank you. Toby, do you want to add to that?
Thank you.
Not sure. I mean, yeah, so it's good to I mean, you can never really say I don't think there's like an objective point that says, oh, I'm prepared. You understand? So it's best to just like put yourself out there, similar to what I said. Also, if you notice you're getting a lot of rejections, I think it might do you good to reevaluate. Maybe just take a break and see what you're doing wrong. Maybe it's your resume, or maybe it's your experience, or your or maybe you're banging the technical interviews. So also like reevaluate, continuous reevaluation based on like the feedback you're getting from your interviews, the success or to rejection rates. You can use that to reevaluate yourself and decide if you want to keep applying, if you want to take a break to change some things and improve your success rate.
Okay. Thank you very much. So moving forward, let's say I have seen an application. I want to apply to Facebook. Typical with me, I will just rush, click on the link, open it, put in my details, cover letter, yeah, with all of this and blah blah. So I want to ask you that what are the initial things I am supposed to know or get familiar with before planning to apply? I mean, it seems like an obvious question, but I feel like there are some things that we assume or overlook that can be very important. So can you please tell us these things that we overlook or things that we're supposed to get familiar with? I know about the technical part, yes, data structure and algorithms, yes, lead code, but what else can you add to it? Toby, please answer that.
Yeah, sure. So if I should see a new role, like I said, an opening, usually the first thing I'll do will be to go through the description, the skills needed, how it relates to what I can offer. Then depending on what I can see there, tweak my resume based on the particular role I'm applying for, also my cover letter, so that it relates more to the company. So you, like back then around 2020 when I was like applying to a lot of companies, I already had um let's say a draft of like my resume and my cover letter. So it's just a quick process. Takes less than 30 minutes an hour just to edit some things, and also I had it on my Google Drive, so it's always on the go regardless of the device or where I am, because I always try to apply as early as I can. So I just go through the description, I send my application. Then I also use Glassdoor, some other websites to check like the review of the company, what people working there have to say about it, what they expect for what the kind of things they look for, and also the way their interviews are structured. Then based on that, I immediately start to structure my practice based on what the company is expecting, the kind of problems they ask. So if you have a Lead Code Premium account, um, you can sort by companies. You don't necessarily need to have a premium account. You probably see some GitHub repos that has problems for certain companies. There are other ways around it, but having a little premium account is also something I think would be helpful. So just to like serialize what I just said, I look at the description. I use that to ensure that my resume and my cover letter are personalized to a degree for the role. Also, I start having a personalized um, preparation for that particular role by looking at what they're expecting, the company value that is important for the behavioral aspect of the interview, and also the kind of problems they ask. We should help in technical interviews if I get invited.
Okay. Atayo, please say something.
Yeah, aside what Toby said, something else is making sure you're applying to the right role. So, for example, there could be a role that has been open since 2020 and it's still on the page, and you probably won't get an interview if you're applying to a really old role. So, looking out for when the role was applied also like something you can do to avoid wasting your time. Mm,
Yeah, thank
yeah,
you.
that's
I
another thing I
think
wanted to add.
I really understand that. So now we have gone through the hard work phase, if I'm allowed to say, the CV and the interview. So now, what do you do when you do not know the answer to a coding challenge at the live coding interview? I mean, we have, yeah, this is the interview phase now. They are interviewing you and they ask the question. What do you do when you do not know the answer? Do you leave the meeting? Do you black out? Have you ever experienced that kind of thing? What was it like for you? Entire, please.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so firstly, do not leave the meeting like that's the worst thing you can do. What I would say is that you're actually not supposed to know the answer, at least on the initial glance. Like that's the point of the whole interview. You're meant to figure it out on the spot. I would say if you're not sure of what to do when you first see the problem, like just try to brainstorm through it. I think that's why it's good to be really, really prepared because if you are used to that uncomfortable feeling of seeing a question for the first time and not knowing how to do it, then struggling through it, then finally being able to come up with a solution. If you're used to that process by after practicing for a while, then it's not a strange feeling when you are in an interview and you don't know how to start with the problem, right? The interviewer is actually there to help you. Obviously, it's better if you don't need any help with the interviewer, but if you're completely lost, right, just try to take a step back, pause, and just try things out, right? Like I said, you're not meant to know the answer initially right off the bat. You're meant to actually walk through it and think through it and solve it. So by building that muscle of being able to see a new problem that you've never seen before and solving it without any assistance, it's going to prepare for situations like that.
Okay. Toby, how about you? Have you ever experienced that kind of thing?
Yeah, so um, I would usually ask a lot of clarifying questions to um, confirm that because there are sometimes um, you don't really understand the context of the problem, and it basically throws you off. So I try to ask a lot of clarifying questions so that based on the answer of the interviewer, I can understand that I understand what I'm being expected to solve, um, and ensure that I understand the problem correctly. Also, I like looking for patterns to see if this is a graph problem or if maybe this is a DP problem or something. So I try to also look at the problems, look at certain keywords to try to understand and see if there's something lurking behind the way they worded some part of the problem to see if it's a particular pattern I recognize. Then also walking through examples to try to get a general idea. So if I don't understand the problem, I try to think of a brute force way to do it. Then after figuring out a brute force way to do it, I try to look for ways that I can optimize it. Then in the worst case scenario, which like Kyle said, the interviewers are there to help you, but sometimes asking for hints might not bid well for you in your final like feedback from your interviewer. But in the worst case scenario, if I can't figure anything out, then I basically have to ask for an hint to see if the interviewer can nudge me in any particular direction.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So I would like to say that if you have questions, please kindly put it in the comment section so that I'll be able to ask them. So now the next question said, do I need other software projects to land a FAANG role? I mean, or is data structure and algorithm, is it enough? Do I need what are the other things I need to know to land the role? Itayo.
Yeah, so you do need other projects, right? Like for them to see your resume, it can't be empty. Um, you need to have like some projects there. And also like there are other interviews aside just algorithm interviews. There are some system design interviews. And this might require your knowledge of like building an API or similar things. So yes, you do need side projects.
Okay. Okay, so Toby, this one is for you. So do you have a preferred process of solving questions on lead code? Because ever since this course started, I've just been hearing lead code, and I feel like it's going to be complicated. So starting out might be very confusing. So what would you advise?
Okay, yeah. That's actually a good question. So I remember I actually started actively preparing for companies in 2020, but 2019 I briefly used lead code, but I found it difficult and then I stopped. So I would say so if I would give like a path that I think I would have loved to follow, would be to have a solid foundation, and that could be from school if say it's a good school and then the lecturers take the algorithm and data structure courses were very good. If you can't get that from the school, then I think you could use the course that a guy recommended. That was actually what I used to have a foundation in algorithms and data structure. So that one was from Coursera. It's called Algorithmic Toolbox. It's actually part of a specialization. So I took algorithmic toolbox and then I took data structures. Those are the first two courses in specialization. Then my goal was to have a good foundation, just to understand what sorting algorithms are, how graph works, and like things like that. And after that, I just like dove into lead code. So I started first by solving some easy problems. So problems in lead code are divided into easy, medium, and hard. So I started by solving some easy problems, became comfortable with that. Then after solving easy problems, there's a particular, let's say, playlist for most popular interview problems, about 150, I think, or so problems. I think I solved majority of that. Um, at least those that were available for the free subscription. Then after that, I just like started solving problems randomly. So the strategy I used was I would solve problems randomly, but when I have an interview in sight, say let's say I get a call from maybe Google or Apple or Facebook that they want to set an interview for me, then I start structuring my problem solving for that particular company. So leading up to that interview, I use a premium account, or there's a premium account I had access to. So with a premium account, you can solve frequently most asked problems from a company. So leading up to that interview, instead of like just solving general problems, I start solving problems specific to that particular company. I usually focus on easy and medium. There's an higher chance you get asked an easy and or medium problem, although there are occasions you can get asked an hard problem. So I make my priority solving easy or medium problem. Also, I time myself like 30 minutes. If I don't get the problem in 30 minutes, I don't get headway towards a reasonable intuition or solution in 30 minutes. I look up the solution from lead code and then I try to solve it. So my goal is not to look for a problem I've seen before in an interview. My goal is to be able to get a pattern, because there are certain companies that like asking certain specific kind of questions. Some companies are known for asking graph problems. Some companies are known for asking DB problems. The reason I solve company specific questions is to get myself more familiar with the kind of problem that those companies will likely ask. So I think that's basically what I do. I solve general problems. Then when I have a company insight, I start solving problems related to that company. Um, Also, I read up on the behavioral aspect is sometimes overlooked by people, but it's also quite important. So also reading up about the company culture, you can use Team Blind and other things to be able to answer behavioral problems. Yeah, I guess that is the part I follow. Tayo might have another approach I might want to add on to that.
Yeah, Toby is pretty like much on point with what he's saying. Something I wanted to mention was about looking at that hard, easy, medium filter on this code. What I would say is that that filter is not always accurate. Like some problems might not be as hard as you think, and they have that hard tag. Some problems might be harder than you think, and they have that easy tag. So don't try to get fixated on too much on like the difficulty of the problem, right? Like what I like to do is sort by popularity. Like popular problems are more likely to be good problems that you actually want to spend your time solving. So that's another thing I wanted to mention.
Thank you very much, guys. So we'll be taking the last question, which is: have you ever had to deal with rejection, and how did you go about it? I mean, after an interview phase, you were expecting a very good feedback because you did well, but for one reason or the other, you got a negative feedback. So how did you handle such? What did you do? A please go on.
Yeah, about rejection. Um, yeah, okay. About rejection, what I think you can do, what I think you can do is that firstly just accept that it's normal. It's always going to happen. When I first started interviewing in 2019 and I got rejected, I was sad, but I got over it because I tried to focus on the bigger picture that like there will always be more opportunities and all that stuff. Although it's easier said than done, but so another thing you can do is to apply to as many places as you can. It's actually partly a game of numbers. So if you apply to 10 companies, there's a higher chance you get one, right? And it will hurt you less if you have fallback opportunities than if you are fixated on only one thing and that one ends up like, and you end up getting rejection from that one. So like try to diversify your options, try to apply to as many places as you can. And that way, if you get rejected from one, it won't hurt as bad as if you're the only one.
Okay, Toby, how about you?
Yeah, so what I would say is actually important. Don't let company love, because I know there are certain companies that a couple of us hold in high regard. So don't let company love basically affect your whole application process, because like there are lots of people that most companies can just use. Like a lot of people that apply to companies, and I don't really think they care how much you love them if you don't pass their technical interview. So because that can be quite depressing if like you have your mindset on a particular company and then you get rejected. So yeah, just to add to that, try to apply to as many as you can. Have a backup plan, even if there's a particular company you have in mind. Still apply to that company so that you have a backup plan. Also, try to learn from your rejections, because I mean it's a numbers game. You get rejected way from way more companies than you get accepted to. So if it's possible, ask your recruiter for a feedback. Some companies do that. I think Palantir does that. I think Bloomberg does that. To ask the recruiter for feedback to know if there are certain things you can improve on for your next application. Or you could just reevaluate yourself just to like try to understand the particular place you missed out on and what you can improve on.
Okay, so I think we have come to the end of this session. Thank you very much, guys, for taking your time out to honor us, and thank you guys for listening. Please, can you, drop your email address or your social media handles so that if anybody have questions, if we have questions, if there are questions, we can always reach out to you and ask you. And yes, I think this event, I feel like it is a very good opportunity because another year is approaching us, so we can sit back and reevaluate and put into consideration all these things we have learned, so that next year all we just be hearing is congratulations, this and that, and we don't want to hear I'm sorry, you do not fit for this, you are not fit for this application. So Tayo and Toby, please, your social media handle or your email address so that we can always reach out to you whenever we have questions. So thank you so much, guys, for attending. Thank you, Itayo. Thank you, Toby. Thank you, everybody, for making time out to attend this event. So I think we have come to the end of the session. Did you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, thank you very much, Nibel, too, for handling the panel session clearly. Thank you very much, Toby, once again from me. And thank you, Eitayo, for helping us to demystify all these processes. So now special thanks to everyone too for joining and making this session a success. It was nice to have you, and I hope you learned a whole lot. And yeah, if you haven't joined the community, feel free to join. The link for the registration will be posted on the chat. Yeah, so that's if you like to join DSE, like join the community, have a community of like student developers to support you in your learning, and also to you can also have the opportunity to give back to the community too. Um, Thank you very much for joining once again. We'd love to see you tomorrow where we have a session on freelancing to talk about different freelancing platforms and how you can go about it. Same time, that's 11, and same awesomeness. Thank you, everyone. This will be the end. Bye, guys.
Bye.